up, ultra happy people? I am your host, ultra runner and coach Tanya, and your magnificent co-host Andy.
You hiking the highest mountain in the world for me.
He's just happy to be alive today.
Co-host. I know.
He's just happy to have made it through that crazy weekend. We'll talk about it in a bit. Also, we have a very exciting episode today. We had a great guest last episode. If you haven't listened to it, go out and listen to that one because that is a cracker. It was so fun to have Abby here in the house / studio, and it was great just to have a chat. Kind of, it's been like this week has been about kind of remembering the races because I have also my friend Lisa coming over, so it's been that week. I had like a lot of flashbacks back to the Hill of the Adventure that I had this year. So I know you were a little bit sick of listening to it, but it's good, you know, because we cherish those memories, and probably they don't have also a lot of people to talk to about those memories, and it's always good to kind of bring them back and chat with people that have experienced them. And I cannot wait that we can have those chats.
Although I feel like I've heard the same story 700 times.
It's always different.
What I was going to say is it's interesting to hear it from other people's perspectives, because everybody's got a different viewpoint. It's like everybody looking inside the box is a different angle.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
absolutely.
So it's quite interesting.
Even Abby had a really good tips and ideas and output, and even though we share some same objectives and same ideas, she did bring some new ideas to the table, like nutrition wise, for example, and things like that, and gear. So it just shows you that everyone's journey is completely different.
It's one of the things I love about this podcast and speaking to all different runners is because different people have different viewpoints, as we were just saying. So for example, for those who heard the previous podcast, I was actually asking Abby a lot about her nutrition.
Yeah.
And then when I was speaking to Lisa about her nutrition, she's a total different angle on it and would not do what Abby did. Yeah. So it's good to get different bits from everyone, but I think one of the things that I've really learned is that you just have to try it yourself. You have to really find out what's good for you, and that's going to be what I'm going to be looking at after this week. I'm going to start looking at the different nutritional elements and carrying backpack. In fact, we're going to talk about the hike that we've done.
Yeah, hike.
But I specifically took extra water in my backpack. It was like I was carrying a bit of weight so that I could start to feel like what a little bit of weight would be like. Do you know what I mean? So that
was a little backpack still, but we're started introducing a little bit of weight. It's obviously good to start slow as usual, and this kind of like progressively. So we have that chat coming again, and last weekend, since we didn't have a chance to come by here, I did an absolutely amazing race again here in the UAE. It was sort of like last minute. I literally signed up on a Tuesday and the race was on a Sundays, and it was a cracker of a weekend. We decided to make it a weekend out of it as usual, and just went out there, camp in a really cute campsite. Really fun, and then we had that experience that we'll like to share with you. And also looking forward, Andy has his first half marathon this weekend.
Yeah, that's funny. I feel like it's been like the secret, but not the secret. Do you know what I mean? It's like we've obviously talked about it, but I've not really said what one it is I'm doing. I've not really said much about it. I've been
trying to find the podcast, the first ones. So if anyone out there has it or is listening to it, just kind of, I don't know, has it more present than me, because I will have to go through a lot of audio footage to find that little a couple of times that you said, I'm never gonna run. I am not a runner. You said it so many times in the first podcast when I want to like kind of like put like a really funny reel of you saying I will never do it, and then you will be like, well, so it will be really funny. But we have so many episodes at this point, and I will have to go and dig back.
You know, I have a very, I don't want to say skewed viewpoint on it, right? But someone actually asked me why I started running. And nobody's ever really asked me that as such. Do you know what I mean?
Why did you start running?
Not you, it wasn't you.
No?
No, well,
no, because that would probably scare you.
It was a number of things. I think that, first of all, for me, the starting to run was because I thought I couldn't do it. And it was a fitness thing.
Okay.
I mean, I'm getting older.
Is this your midlife crisis?
I guess it was my element of cardio that I thought I'm going to try and do it and see what happens. But I was definitely inspired by the podcast. Yeah. By listening to different people's viewpoints and getting different tidbits and stuff. And also, I'm never going to hear the end of this, but also a bit by you as well.
Of course.
I was also, I remember, and actually I don't post very much on Instagram, as you know, but I made a post the other day about an inspiration of an amazing runner from about 20 years ago, from Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Clive Henry, was his name? Clive Henry. I can't remember if I got that right. I'm pretty sure it's right. But this guy who was a farmer just decided one day he was going to go out and run. With the jeans on and the boots on, and went and done it, and actually didn't realise quite what it was he was doing. So much so that he was embarrassed that he bet the closest professional by 10 miles. And
so the story goes that he even started. He shows up in the start line of this grueling ultra marathon, like it was 200 miles or something like
61.
that. He's 61, and he is obviously towed the line with all these, like, obviously super pro ultra athletes, and he's just there showing up, like Andy was saying, with jeans and boots. And he just had his experience of being in the farm and just kind of working with his cattle and, like, you know, running behind his sheep and then sometimes he was saying that he had to run behind his sheep and all that, even really late at night and sometimes overnight, because obviously, you know. So that was his background, and suddenly he shows there, he starts running and he doesn't stop because he's like, isn't this what we're supposed to do? Like, I feel great. And he didn't know that he could sleep during this race, and that's what the ultra professional athletes and that time were doing. They were running
as
some
it goes
distance.
Back then, they were sleeping approximately 3 hours a night.
Yeah,
and he didn't sleep.
That was behind, you know. Back then, it was a thing to sleep during these long races. Obviously, now we kind of know that you don't actually need to sleep if you don't want to. But back then, most of the people would have a couple of times. But it was kind of funny how he probably, can you imagine how he felt in the start line?
Yeah,
just like
looking around,
like saying, what the hell am I doing here? Yeah. I feel like that sometimes, and you know, clearly I'm not. Which is,
I guess, a nice link to about what the show is about today, because it's something that I know the show, the podcast, I know, is about, because it's something that for a while's really touched me. Do you know what I mean? That someone could just do that, not know
you
what it's
have
about.
That story in your head a lot.
It really is in my brain. I would urge anybody to go and watch it. You can watch it on YouTube, and it is just so incredible. The guy he was so humble. He was so shocked that he won, remember? And he was like, he gave the prize money out to the second and third contestant because he was so embarrassed that he had won.
Yeah, that's like the ultimate imposter syndrome, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But I just, for such a long time, it's been one of those things. I've always thought to myself, a guy at 61 who didn't know anything about it, just get out there and do it with no training, because his life was his training. Yeah, and exactly. I thought that was just so inspiring, and that's one of the things that's always stuck by me.
Well, I think you're going to feel like him this Saturday.
I don't think I'll feel like him.
Totally lying. Of a half marathon, you're going to be like, what the hell am I doing here?
I'm doing the Budge to Budge half marathon.
Yeah.
I know, which is one of the big iconic ones.
I signed him up, and the first question Andy asked was, do I get a medal?
It'll be my first medal.
Oh my God, how cute is that?
It'll be my first medal.
All right, well,
I know, it's exciting.
Let's go with your tips by Andy. What is it?
Oh my God. How long have we been doing this? So, facts by Andy.
People, I'm losing it. And even Avi was so sad because when obviously in that podcast, all the all the podcast was just her and we just having a chat. And she's like, "Oh, is there no facts by Andy this time?" And she was quite sad there. And there was no facts by Andy.
Some people have been saying to me that they use them, which I never expected to.
There you go. It's just started as go and read a little bit something running, and look at this. Well, it's just grown.
We were actually talking about this in the car on the way to our hike, which we'll talk about a bit later on, which again is what sort of got me thinking. Okay. And it's about anxiety, particularly around race days. So that's something for people who are new. Mm-hmm. And people who have been there for a long time.
I'm not anxious at all.
Because, well, interestingly enough, I didn't realise that it affects people who have been doing it for a long, long time as well. But let's get started. So pre-race anxiety can enhance or hinder performance. A study in the Journal of Sports Science 2018 found that moderate pre-race anxiety can actually boost performance by increasing focus and motivation. However, excessive anxiety can impair coordination and decision-making, leading to slower times. So nervousness isn't always bad. Yeah. It's about manage it so that it works in your favour.
I think managing it, it's not the problem, but the biggest thing that you have to learn how to manage. And I'll give a weak example. When I did my third attempt in the 100, which was the
White Horse?
No, the other one, the one previously, the Jurassic Coast, where my parents flew all the way there. Yeah. And I don't know, for some reason, I was thinking, this is my third attempt. I told people I was doing it. I felt extremely pressured and extremely anxious because it was like, I think it was one of the first times that my parents flew that far to crew me, and I had everyone and I don't know, I feel quite anxious. And even before the starting line, obviously I'm starting with 100 miles in front of me, I failed 3 times prior to this. Like, there's a lot in my head now. I understand there's nothing in stake for me, no one gives a crap. It was just me and my head. But when I was in that start line, my heart rate was so high, and I could not bring it down. And obviously when the climbs started to appear, and it was really hard, and it was really sunny and really hot and all that, because my heart rate was already up there with all this anxiety and pressure that I created myself out of nowhere. I hit exhaustion and everything because I couldn't control my heart rate. So I've definitely experienced that.
This next one is actually something that I have been a bit concerned about, and I know that you suffered from it as well. Impostor syndrome. So before I start on this one, right? Mm-hmm. The reason why I think that I've got this in my head is I don't want to sound like I know I can do this or whatever. I'm fairly confident that I'm going to complete it, right, and complete it within the cutoff.
Yeah, that's what the half marathon. Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that. However, when I get to the start line, I do know that I'm going to look around me and see everybody all with the best gear on, all looking great. You know what I mean? And I'm going to look at them,
and more because it's a road marathon.
Yeah, and I'm going to think to myself, these guys are pros, and they are going to absolutely rock it. And here's wee Andy, just standing here with.
Yeah. Listen, that happened to me even when I was like already in the sport for a while. And I don't know if you remember that Edinburgh Marathon. Yeah. And I mean, I've done plenty of ultras at that point, and I just did it just for the fun of it. Like, I just wanted to do it. I'm really not a fan of road running, but you know what? It was a fun day out, and it's one of the biggest marathons there in Scotland. So I thought, why not? All my friends were going, and I don't know. I just decided to do it. And I remember, and I told you this story, and I went in the start line, and it's a big party. Even, I'm showing up there with my clothes, which my clothes are like trail running clothes, meaning they're all dirty and with holes, and, my favorite top, which is gigantic.
Just being comfortable.
And, I'm just used to it, because the trails really don't care about what you're wearing, and you're spending most of the time on your own and long time. So I dress for comfort, and I really don't care. And I get there, and everyone's like with their super, clean clothes, new clothes, matching outfits, doing these crazy warm-ups. All these drills, like these carbon shoe plate shoes,
whatever. There's nothing wrong with
There's nothing wrong. I I stood there like if I was
croissant, didn't you?
Oh yeah, and I sat in the corner just eating my croissant, and everyone's there like purely like super focused in their warm ups, and I feel like a total imposter syndrome because I was like, what the hell am I doing here? Like this is like it looked daunting to me, and I've
experienced.
And even though I'm experienced runner, if you want to call it that way, I still felt what was the word?
Overwhelmed.
The other word that I said. I understand why people that are new runners and it is their first experience in a distance or in half marathon distance can find it quite intimidating.
Yeah. Well, see this here, that when I was looking at the facts, Andy's facts. I was looking at imposter syndrome. Actually, I hope this helps people what I'm about to say, right? Mm-hmm. And it sticks in their head. And that's all levels of runners. So imposter syndrome affects both beginners and experienced runners. Research published in Psychology of Sport and Exercise in 2020 found that imposter syndrome affects athletes of all levels, making them feel that they don't belong or aren't real runners. Even elite runners and elite athletes report feelings of fraudulence despite their achievements. So if you've trained and put in the work, you deserve to be there at the start line just like everyone else. And the important thing is what you don't know is what people's thoughts are as when they're looking at you.
Exactly.
And going back to Clive, when he was standing on that start line on that day of that, everybody was looking at him thinking, what is he doing? Well, he is looking at everybody else thinking, what is going on?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good example that when everybody, and factually based on a study in psychology of sport and exercise, they talk to elite runners as well as novices, and everybody suffers it. So I think that's quite good.
I think, again, it's not I'm throwing trash to the road running community, right? But I feel that feeling way much stronger than in a trail race, for example. And obviously, I don't know if you have experienced it, but when you've gone with me to the trail running races, it's a total different vibe. Everyone's laughing. Everyone's saying hello. Like they want to feel you. They want to make you
part
feel
of it. But here's the flip side of it. You take a road runner for the first time and put him on that start line of a trail race. He's going
that
to
would be interesting.
He is going to feel the same as you did on the road race. And the reason for that is because what he does is he feels different.
But we will try to include him when in the road running. Like when I was sitting there with my croissant, just looking, no one came and say, oh, hi, blah, 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 nothing. No one tried to make conversation with me. When in the trail running community, which I've done many races on my own, where I go and I don't know anybody, I'm never alone. There's always one soul that comes in and wants to welcome you and wants to make you feel.
But I think there's a reason for that, and it's actually more of a commercial reason rather than a moral reason or anything like that. It's because when you go to these road running races, whether it be half marathons or 5Ks or 10Ks, you don't just have 50 people at the start line. You've got 5,000 people at the start line.
Yeah, that's
true.
Know
what I mean?
That could be.
And it's a bit different. What you've got is you've got 5,000 people there being pretty much focused or super focused on whatever. Whereas it's a bit different. You've got maybe 50, 100 people on the start line of things.
Yeah, I think so. Exactly. That's the truth though, because the big half marathon that I went to, everyone had their groups already, and they came in big groups already. Yeah. When you do an ultra, or you don't know anyone and you're just there by yourself, there will be a lot of people just there by themselves as well.
I think that as far as it comes to the running and ultras and in trails particularly, the team thing's only a recent thing. It doesn't. If you go to road races, what you'll do is you'll find that there's teams and teams and teams and teams. I mean, road running teams. You've got run clubs and all that.
Yeah, running clubs. There's a lot,
and that's happened for a long time. Whereas when it comes to trail running and ultras, you never really had that. It's a very individual sport, so that's why people talk amongst each other. Whereas when it comes to road racing and those teams, they have their teams to talk with.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a little bit of everything. Definitely.
Okay, so on to the next one. Is I actually quite like this one. Negative self-talk increases perceived effort. So, A study in cognition and emotion in 2019 found that runners who engaged in negative self-talk during races reported higher perceived exertion, making the run feel harder than it actually was. So replacing thoughts like "I don't belong here" with "I'm prepared and ready" can physically make the race feel easier.
Absolutely. I agree.
I mean, that'll be, do you know what? That'll be something that I'll be doing, and that'll be something after like researching the Andy's Facts thing. I'm going to do my best on the start line not to think that I don't belong here and have imposter syndrome. I'm going to be thinking to myself,
"Oh, I've done a big hike. I've done."
Well, actually, we're going to talk about the training thing in a minute, aren't we? Because we had a discussion about that, which I think will be quite interesting for everyone. But next one is pre-race routines can reduce anxiety and boost confidence. Research in the sports psychologist in 2017 found that runners with pre-race routines like breathing exercises, visualization, or listening to music experience lower anxiety and improved performance. So a simple routine before a race can give you can reduce the imposter syndrome thoughts.
Yeah.
So if it's something that you do, see if you're on your training days, if you like to listen to music as well. Yeah. What I was saying, one of the big things, and we've spoke about it on the past, not something that we do, but breathing exercises.
Yeah. I don't do breathing because I don't, maybe I should. But what I do is visualization. I am big in visualization since I was a swimmer, actually. When we used to go to the nationals, I remember our coach would bring someone, I don't know the name of this person, that goes and go like probably it's like a guided meditation.
Yeah.
But it will be very guided into, you're about to race, imagine this, like that person will put you in the place, like, and then you're swimming, like imagine the feelings, feel the feelings, you're finishing triumphant and you won, and so they walk you through the whole race or the whole experience, and making you think like you already won, you already did it, and then you're so connected that your mind actually, your heart rate can rise up. You can feel the feels that if you were there.
Yeah.
Your mind doesn't know if it's fake or real. If you
train it enough.
if you think about it, your body starts responding like it was. I mean, you can trick your brain telling him that you're pregnant. You know, you can trick your brain that you're doing something. So I kind of have that. And then I kind of do it the same when I'm running or when I'm going to do a big race. I do it when I'm like running or, by runs before the race. I try to Google or YouTube the start line if I don't know what it looks like, or the finish line. Like, for example, Cocodona, we've seen plenty of videos. So I know how the finish line looks. I know the last couple of meters, like. And every time or a couple of times during my runs, I visualize, like, imagine you're there. And I'll tell you something, I sometimes even cry because I am like feeling the feeling, like imagine crossing that. I mean, imagine being there in this moment. And it's a very powerful mental exercise that I would recommend anyone to do it.
Well, the final one is social support reduces race day anxiety. And I think that actually this has got a wee bit of common sense about it. But a British Journal of Sports and Medicine in 2021 study found that runners who had supportive friends, family or running communities felt significantly less anxious before races and performed better. So talking to fellow runners or having support crew to help calm your nerves always boost your confidence.
Yeah.
So, not you. But I think that one's quite an obvious one.
Yeah. But it helps that now you're into a little bit. Because when you weren't, it's not like I couldn't talk to you, but I would talk to you and you were like, yeah, whatever, you're crazy. But now it's like, now you're a little bit more interested into the topic.
You know what I mean?
Or you're like actually asking questions, which maybe before you didn't really, you were not into it. So why would you ask a question,
Well, one of the things that we will want to talk about today is obviously the getting to the start line and how you feel on the start line and actually running a race. And it came up the topic after Abby's podcast experience is people were talking about training and the training of getting to the race and how people take a year to train for their half marathon and stuff like that. And I remember I said to both you and Abby, I've got this half marathon coming up and I don't feel like I've trained at all.
Yeah.
And well, I think it kind of made me a bit anxious for a moment. And I was thinking, well, I've not been doing all these things that other people are doing, you know, like whether it's a recce of the route or whether it's like checking their splits or having specific days to do things. For me, it was just I had to get to a certain level of fitness.
It's like you're like your friend that you. What's the name of your friend? The guy that the guy that you were talking about. Clive is like your friend Clive. You know, I don't think he ever practiced the route or practiced anything. He just knew he had the level of fitness. He knew he could do it, and that's all you need to show up in the start line. So.
I think what after that conversation, having a good think in my own head about it, is that there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with people that are training for these things and building up. In fact, it's necessary that you train it. But what it doesn't matter is what you call it. Do you know what I mean? As long as what you're doing is you're building up that fitness where you believe that you can get to that finish line, that's the important thing. But actually, when it comes to ultras, you don't know if you're going to get to that finish line. It's about being ready for that and about being the problem solvers that we were talking about through all the podcast episodes. So I did have a wee bit of a rushing of anxiety when we were, and I was listening to people talking about training, and I'm thinking, I've not really trained, but I guess I have. I just call it something different, you know?
Yeah. It's like you haven't maybe trained specifically for this race. Like, and this happens to a lot of people. Sometimes they ask me, "Oh, how many months do I have to start training to do something like you're doing?"
You get it as a coach quite a lot.
I know, I get it quite a lot, and it's a very complicated question to answer just with a random number. I always tell them, like, I hate to be that person, but it's like I always almost answer with depends, because it depends in your fitness level, where you come in. Have you worked out before? You have exercised before? If your history, you have injuries, no, how much time do you have? Like, there's so many unknowns. So just, you know, thinking in a broad time is just so unfair to ask a question and then just expect just a random number. So yes, it's really difficult for me when coaches just answer 6 months for this or 3 months. I was like, I don't know how you are answering that, because it depends a lot. So maybe you haven't been preparing for these half marathon, you know, months, but you've been training or you've been running consistently for a year now, and you've been training overall gym or, you know, fitness
for a lot of years.
For more than, maybe since we met, so probably 9, 8 years, 10. So, you know, when you say how long have you been preparing for this race, I don't know, like 10 years ago.
I mean, there's definitely elements of, so if you think about what I'm doing for the half marathon, and I've got to that point where I believe that I'm capable of doing it, fingers crossed, I'll make it across the line and I'll be satisfied with what I've done. But when it comes to doing ultras, then it becomes something different. Now, I am lucky that I have you and the other people in the ultra community around me that will say to me, let's go a hike. And this leads us nicely onto the hike, I guess. Let's go a hike, because that's something that you'll experience when you're doing these ultras. And the thing is about that is, even though I know that I'm going to do it, and I know and I want to do them, it's great getting out there and doing it. But I've got the luxury of, for example, you or whoever it is, Lisa, right, come on, we'll go and do a hike.
Yeah.
Other examples of that would be of let's go and sand run, or let's go up in the mountains and do some climbing, because that's all things that I'll encounter in ultras. But that there for me is 100% training, because that's training me to do something that I've not done before.
Yeah. And you're training also your mind, because you are uncomfortable in also those situations, because you've never experienced that before. So I love that, because now you're putting yourself in these difficult or challenging places, because they're challenging, not because they're challenging, well, they are, but also because they are new for you and you've never been. And if you haven't done anything and you're putting yourself to do something that you've never done, that has already a level of a challenge, because you've never done it, so you don't know. So when you are new into something, into the sport, and you're trying all these different new things, that's what I was saying, it comes with a lot of learnings. And I think this is the place of your journey that you're going to learn so much. And then later on, when you've been in the sport a lot, even though you're still learning, you learn into like a slower pace because there's maybe not a lot of things more to learn. There's always things to learn, don't get me wrong, but you learn a tiny bit less just because maybe I have my food sorted, my nutrition, maybe I play around with different things, but you're a little bit more understanding. But I think now it's the golden era when you started like kind of getting ready to transform your journey. I don't know.
But I think it's something that we've never really spoke about on the podcast is that training element. You know what I mean? Like taking you out of doing. So for example, right? I don't know many coaches that are running coaches or trail running coaches or whatever it may be. But for me, I would say that there's not many coaches that if you say to them, I'm going to do an ultra, they'll say, right, okay, well, let's get out and do some rock climbing. Let's get out there and do some climbing over hills. Let's go to the highest point. What we want to do is we'll get you training. We'll try and build you. We'll build your core. We'll build your legs. We'll get you ready for anything. But there's nothing better than getting that physical experience, like being out there doing it.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's going to be fun to see I think that we didn't talk about it too much because obviously when we started the podcast, I was already in a certain level. Like I was getting ready for 5 deserts. So, I mean, to already do something like that, probably you had to have certain level of fitness or certain, experience. I mean, not always, because we heard stories of people, Andy as well, that have never done anything like that and they just jump in. So, but in my case, I had already a little bit of a past. So I think that we kind of like went really fast forward in that kind of gap. Yeah. And it's great that you can like now are coming in and filling up that gap and what happens from 0 to that, Tanya. So it's really good for everyone that you are sharing that because we'll walk with you like to see what is happening in your in your end, but also where's you can see your future.
Yeah. Well, do you know the funny thing is out of all the ultra runners that I've spoke to or I've listened to who have been on many of ultra runners, because like I said, nobody ever does one, possibly me. What they do is from their training perspective, they will go and climb the mountains. They will go and do all these things. They will go and do all the difficult stuff. Whereas the amount of novices, but beginners that have said, I just trained by doing a step climber or not getting into the mountains or not doing much. I hear a lot of that.
And
so obviously the experience, but obviously the experience, people realise it's a necessity.
Yeah, take it slow, building up slowly, nice and slow. And more if you want to be in the sport for a while, you clearly don't want to go fast and injure. And
I thought you were going to say you clearly don't want to be.
You clearly just want to escape. This is the moment where you can still escape and don't cross to that dark side. But I think you're already there.
It's planned. I'm going to do it. I have it in my head. I know what it looks like in my head for me. Whether that works, I doubt it.
It was super fun to see as well. Like I said, I did this race around here, the UAE, a beautiful place. We'll talk about it a little bit. It was a 30K, but this race, they have a 15 kilometer, 30, 50. I think I also have 75 or 80 kilometers.
And then they have, you were talking about,
Yeah, and then they have 100 kilometer. It's called the GOAT, and it's one of the biggest kind of series or races here in the UAE. I think it's just started, but the organizers are really good, doing an excellent job, kind of like getting this community up and running here in the UAE. And the routes they are doing is the same organizers that did the 12-hour loop course as well. So they're really, really good.
And the goodie bag.
Yeah, really good, friendly.
The goodie bag was amazing.
And the community is amazing.
I got a running hat out of it. I was delighted.
Oh, yeah, the running hat. And they are definitely doing the things well done.
Yeah,
and it was really fun to see. I signed up last minute because I seen all the hype and then I got a little bit jealous. So I was like, okay, I'll just do the short one, which is, shortish, not the 15, but the 30. And trust me, I wanted to do the 100 so bad. I even asked coach in the lead if I could go and do the 100. They had a really generous cut-off-ish. I mean, you have to move, but it's probably doable. I think it's 36 hours for the 100K. It has 6,000 meters elevation, so it's a little bit brutal climbing. But I mean, you could probably. as long as you're moving fairly, you should be okay. So I was like, maybe I can do it. She's like, no. But that goes again to you need sometimes to just go nice and slow.
But also going back to what we're talking about right at the beginning there, that surprises everyone when you say that you sign up for a race the day before or 2 days before. But that still even surprises me. But that goes back to that anxiety level that I think to myself, I would need a bit of time to figure that out or sort that out.
Figure what out?
But you are confident enough to sign up the day before for a marathon, because it's you know that you've been there and done it. So
and I am not a competitive runner. So that's a very important point. Obviously, if you're a competitive runner, you're going there for the big check. You're like in the front of the pack. You are going for the place. These people have been wrecking the route for the past month. I mean, clearly. Since I am not a competitive runner, I can have fun with it. So, if a race crosses my path and I like it, I see if I can work around it. And it was really fun to see all the community again. The route was beautiful, so beautiful that I had to take Andy the following week for a hike over there. And it was part of his training, because obviously Greece, as you know, is going to be, I think, a lot of climbing in that kind of terrain. So
I feel like I've been told a lot of lies about Greece.
I was like, I think I need to start putting him a little bit in the climbing just to get those climbing legs up.
But actually, when I'd completed it and I got to the top, and both you and Lisa had said to me, "Oh, how was it? How did you feel? You'd done really well." The first thing I said was, "I couldn't have done that a year ago."
Yeah.
And because of the unconscious training, I guess, the work I've been doing on my legs, the running and my core and everything else, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
First time using poles as well. I got a hang of it pretty quickly. Was using them the whole way. Actually, I think a couple of times they may have saved my life.
I know. You're a little bit like, the balance is in the forte, yes, but it will get there.
And before I would have looked at that route, and I've been on that route thinking that is just full of ankle breakers. Now I'm not going to do that.
Yes.
Now I'm like, right, let's go. And
I will figure it out. I will pay more attention then. If I know that my
and it was stunning.
My weakness is my ankle, then I'll just pay more attention.
I'm so glad that we got out there and done it, because I absolutely loved it. And obviously the feeling of getting to the top of the highest peak in the UAE is something that you can say you've achieved.
It was the highest peak of the UAE. So the race goes through that, and then there is another route that you can take also. We'll put the link below if you're interested. And you can go from all the way down from the lowest point to the highest point, and there is a beautiful restaurant all the way in the top, where obviously we'll have breakfast, lunch, all that, and then just right back in a cab all the way down, because I'm not going down.
I can recommend the fish and chips if anybody's interested in going.
You guys were ordering fish and chips.
It was lovely.
I had a burger. It was beautiful.
I love burger.
But during the race, because I've been there before in that restaurant, I was like, can I go and sit down and have a proper breakfast? It was good. And the race got very competitive. Like, there is a really serious runners here in the UAE, and it's amazing the level of competition that is here. But I had a great day out there in my race. It's been a while since I didn't race, but I was trying not to stop and trying to really push a little bit. I mean, it was 30 kilometers. For me, 30 at this point is I know I can push, right? So I know I can run a little bit faster without burning out, because it's only 30 kilometers. So it was good to see that I was getting better, I feel, because it's been a while since I haven't been able to train or race. Races are not about going hard at all. It's actually the opposite. It's super nice, steady, and slow. So I haven't been able to put the second gear, which I've been working on, just to get a little bit faster, a little bit more fit, aerobically fit. And it was great to see that in the 30K run. I felt really, really strong. And I always said I have really strong legs because I do good in the downhills, which obviously all my strength training pays off. I know a lot of people and more now runners are paying more attention in the strength training, but I still feel they still do it as a second dish, like a side dish, when for me is the total opposite. My main dish is usually strength training, and then I sprinkle over a little bit of running, because again, I don't like running. So
Well, I wanted to ask you this question while we're live.
Oh my God, I'm scared.
Because I'm
scared.
The question I want to ask you
I'm ready.
Is why you run. Hold on, this is a two-part thing.
Oh my God, I need to write them.
Because you always say about, I don't like running. Mm-mm. What I do is you like being out there, I guess, seeing the sights and having a bit of the solitude of it.
Yeah.
However, I seen for the first time when you signed up for the GOAT how excited you were to get out there and run.
Yeah.
Now, I'm using that as a specific sentence. How excited you were to get out there and run, which is the first time that I've seen that. Mm-hmm. Why is that? I feel that there's been a change in you, that you actually were out enjoying running.
I have a really simple question. The answer to that question, because it was a short race.
Because it was short race.
I usually sign up for I don't really know if I'm going to make it back alive. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm praying right now. Like if I, 30K, I know I was going to, and I knew I was going to enjoy it because it was short and I could push a little bit because it was short and I wanted to have fun because it's short. So you can go into the suffering mode a little bit because it's short. So everything is like really fun when it's short. I think when it's long, you're like, oof, it enters more of the strategy. I need to slow down. I need to eat more. You're more concentrating, I think, than you need to do.
But short for you.
Short for me, yeah.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day,
it was not short. It was 6 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah, so short is not short.
And I mean, although it sounds like 30K, I experienced obviously the hike, and that hike was only 10K and it took us 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because of the elevation and the climbing and everything else that goes along with it. So that all takes time. That takes a lot of time. And funnily enough, when we talked about in a previous podcast about how some runners, that is the part that drives them insane, because what they want to do is they want the speed, they want to run quicker, they want to have a course record and a course time.
And unless you're not Killian genetics and Killian...
on trail running, it's a different ballgame.
And also I was excited because I was not carrying a backpack.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
So there's no deep answer for you. I know you were expecting deep answer.
No, it wasn't about a deep answer or
there's
not.
No really.
It was just the fact that I actually seen you excited about running, and I don't normally see that. It's normally like you're more excited about the solitude of it all, and just.
I was excited for the solitude, yeah, definitely as well. Which there was no solitude. This race was packed. That's the only thing about going to a race that is short. Is usually a lot of people, and particularly I don't like it, but sometimes it's good. It's all right. I put my earphones and I was just enjoying, but there was always someone in my back, like someone was watching my bum all the time because it was like really high up. So, and really, and then the person behind you is like, and I'm like, man, just get a little bit further. So yeah, that's the only thing. And then there was people going up and down there was a point, there was like a switchback, and they were coming back in the same trail, and trail's super tiny, and there's like nothing to the other side. So it was a little bit like,
I think that's sometimes the nervousness for me on trails is that they are so narrow. I mean, you don't get wide trails, they are so narrow that.
But that was like 5-3. No, it was like probably the last 2-3 kilometers up in the peak. After that, all the people that were just going for the short route were coming back, so they were gone. And the people that were kept going with the 30, 50s, and 100s, which by that point everyone was a little bit more spread out, and I could enjoy my second half of the race. But I was excited because of that, because I was like, okay. Yeah. But I was excited about my solitude as well. I was excited that I didn't have to pay attention to the route or anything, because there was going to be a lot of people around, which that is also good. Mentally, I like it because I can switch off completely, rather than, sometimes when I'm alone, I have to be checking the route, making sure that, you have to be a little bit more responsible about yourself, like, check on yourself, be a little bit more alert, rather than when you are just with a race. It's like, I didn't have to carry much water because there was checkpoints, there was foods, tons of foods, which, that always makes me happy.
Yeah, it does.
So.
But even at that, it's interesting hearing other people talk as well about that solitude thing. Even like when we were speaking with Abby and Lisa, because they're the most recent ones, but even all the other people we've spoke to in the past, that is the one common thing everybody loves, is that solitude. That being out there on their own with their own thoughts and just leaving the world behind them. Their mobile phone is off. Yeah. It's like that's everybody's favourite thing, isn't it?
Do you see me excited for my next race?
But sorry to interrupt, but do you know what? Actually, there's a part of that, and I don't know about anybody else out there. They can maybe let me know. Is that's one of the parts that make me feel uncomfortable.
What?
That solitude for such long lengths of time.
Oh, I love it.
Because while I'll be great and I'll be good with music and I'll be good with a couple of podcasts, I might even be good with a book, then I'll get bored. And I don't necessarily want to go inside my head. Do you know what I mean?
Go inside your head.
Go inside my head and listen to myself.
I went to an interview with a girl and she was asking me she asked me something about the desert. Like, what is it? What I found it interesting about the desert. And I said that how loud it is, how noisy it is. And when you take off your earphones, obviously I don't have my music all the time, or because I wouldn't have the battery. No, so I had to be also even very diligent about the battery and the usage of my electronics. So most of the time I didn't have my music on or anything. And I was telling her, and she found it quite interesting and funny that I said that the desert is quite of a loud place. Like you can hear the rocks cracking, your footsteps.
Are you sure that's not
crunching.
Your ankles or your knees?
Are you sure you're not like already hallucinating a little bit? No, you can hear all that because obviously the wind goes through the rocks as well. So you can hear, it's very loud, and you would think it's very quiet. It's loud, but it's quiet at the same time. I don't know how to explain it. So it's interesting. Maybe in the road, that's something that maybe, I don't know why you're going to listen to the cars beeping, or it's not as such an experience. But when you're in the trails, when you are more in somewhere like that new or the desert or why not, there is a lot of noises that are quite nice to pay attention to.
Things become normalized. So for road running, for example, you running in the streets, or whether it be park runs or whatever, because they're still pretty much in city centres, you hear all those noises every day, so they don't really make much of a difference to you. But if you listen to a lot of the pro ultra runners who move out of cities and move to the mountains to practice and live that life, things become normalised to them. Do you know what I mean? They say themselves as well that the trees cracking or the sounds in the forest don't bother me anymore. Whereas if that was 10 years ago, I would have been terrified. I'd have been looking behind me the whole way, you know.
Yeah. At the beginning, it was, and more being a woman, obviously, because in Scotland, now you're coming with me in some of the runs, and why not? But if I've been running for 9 years in Scotland by myself, and there was a lot of sketchy trails that I went to, and you are running a little bit scared, not because only I'm a woman, because I'm alone here, which who knows if there's an animal behind anywhere, or there's a random stranger around there, or in both of you, you never know. Sometimes there were kids camping and you don't know if they're drinking or why not. So yes, there is a little bit of that as well, but I think that like in anywhere in the world, you just have to be alert. I
think it depends where you are, because I think the biggest things that people are worried about when they're running certain places in the States, and we'll probably talk about Cocodona in a minute.
Yes, that's what I was going to
Is that they're more nervous about snakes or bears?
Yeah,
or whatever?
I am nervous. We should have asked about animals. If there's animals. Yeah. Oh my God, I almost gave away the next episode that we have planned for you all. Because we're going to start entering, like Annie was saying, Cocodona. And that is I'm looking forward to spend those 7 days by myself in the desert. It will be a little bit different than the stage races, because now there is you can make your own stage race. Pretty much. You have all that distance and you can just, divide it however you want. So I had that question in my head, how I'm going to break distance. There's several ways to do it, which I've heard, read, and so on, which we will share with you all as well as we go along on this journey of Cocodona, what works for me or what works better. And it's going to be a learning journey as well. I mean, I've done 250 kilometers, but not 400 kilometers and on my own. So that is...
Well, when you say on your own, this one you do have crew. So we are going to crew.
Yeah.
You'll be able to sleep
alone in the sense of like there is no like a proper camp where I can go and sleep. But there is checkpoints where I can sleep. There's just not... You don't need to get there. It's not divided in stages.
The planning needs to be a bit more meticulous for this sort of thing, and it's almost the guessing that you're going to sleep, but
almost exactly. It's like almost more planned, but less planned.
Yeah,
it's more freely. It's more free that you can sleep whenever you want and just kind of have an idea how is that going to work. But yeah, it's going to be so much fun. Obviously, before that, we have Atacama, which I am getting ready to. I think we have a couple of more episodes to go before I head out. And I'm excited to kind of just finish the 5 deserts and then just get ready. Like I was saying, I don't think there will be episodes between those two. So we're trying to, this is the season to get ready for the both of them. So I am excited.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how we can maybe do something
while we're
away.
But if not, obviously know that this is the topics that I am kind of thinking, and they will be answered when I come back from my endeavours.
But the exciting news is we got the opportunity to speak to...
Ooh! Are you saying already? All right. So we are going to have Steve, the race director of Cocodona, joining us the next episode, the next week. So we are super excited to ask him all the questions. I have a whole list, a whole bunch. I do have questions and I don't have questions because, I mean, it's difficult, but it's like, what else? It's pretty straightforward. Yeah. You just need to survive for 100 kilometers. Like, the task is easy. Easy enough.
I mean, we've spoke to Steve already. He's such a nice guy. But for the podcast, we will definitely touch upon his experience, not just as a race director, but the fact that he's an ultra runner as well. So he's done things like Moab, he's done various different races. So it'll be great to get some information from him, not only on Cocodona, but just how he deals with ultra races and what his...
I was excited to ask him about what he thinks, because obviously, as you know, we started to do the stage races, Racing the Planet, because I was getting ready for Cocodona as like a training camps for Cocodona. So I was interesting to hear if he thought it was a good plan. I mean, it was too late if he wasn't, but I wanted to know if he thought it was a good idea to do what I'm doing, which it was very interesting, his reply, and it gave me some reassurance that we're getting ready the right way. We are in good spirits, good form, and I cannot wait to share with you all the logistics that are going to go. I don't know yet a lot of things, but I think we will go through them as we prepare for them.
I think it's really exciting to have Steve being the race director on the podcast, same as we had Sam for Racing the Planet as a race director as well, because for anybody out there that's doing any of these races, these insights are so invaluable. Yeah. And one of the things that I love about our podcast, and as everyone says, is it's light-hearted. It's not all stats. It's not all statistics. So you get a good conversation out of it, which the same we got with Sam.
And if anyone has the stories, if anyone has the inside information, everything. It's the race director. They are the person to go to. Yeah. Even more so your race fellow competitors. They may have an experience, but race director always going to be telling from like a third party kind of, from seeing everything from the outside, which is also a very valuable insight. But for that, we'll have to wait for next episode next week. And for this week, we are going to be cheering Andy and the Birch to Birch.
Wish me luck, everyone.
How are you feeling? Now that we spoke about, are you going to apply any of these visualization, relaxation, breathing.
I tell you what I will be doing is I will be getting to the start line more prepared than I would have done without having a proper look at it. Because like I say, I'm not nervous about the distance or actually running it. And I was out today, as you know, and I've got my time down quite comfortably to somewhere I can make it no problem. My knee and my ankle's been in a good place, the touch wood, as they say, recently. So I'm not particularly worried about that. What I would have been worried about is the anxiety of getting to the start line. I would have been more concerned about what I was probably wearing and whether I was going to fit in and look right more than anything else. Because I was saying to you in the beginning, if you remember right, is all these people are out there to break records.
Not everyone.
For themselves, the personal best.
But not everyone.
They want to be out there and be quick and be fast. And
there
to me,
is going to be
like a fast race.
10,000 people. I don't think everyone is there to break records.
But what I've came to realise, I guess, through having a look, is that everybody's out there to do the same thing. They're out there to run. You know, and as well, people might be, I might be looking at people thinking, oh my God, they're pros and look at how fast they're going to go really fast. They could be looking at me the same, but actually, that's not the important thing. The important thing is getting there, doing it, and getting over the finish line and being happy with your own result.
Just happy to finish.
That's my words of wisdom on it.
Just whatever.
I guess that's the words of wisdom to everybody.
Yeah, whatever the time it is. Yeah. Just go out and celebrate your life, your fitness, how you are so blessed to have health, to be able to experience and be able to do something like that.
But also, I wish the best of luck for anybody doing any races, in particular the one that I'm going to be doing, because I'm going to be there, that are going after that time and going after that personal best.
Yeah, as well.
Like we said, we had a great conversation with two elite runners that are Kenyans.
Yep.
And what they'll be doing is they'll be going out there and they'll be trying to beat their record. They'll be trying to win, you know. And for me, well, that's not me. I am so happy for them, and I am excited to see how they perform in their results, you know. So I've got both sides of it as well, you know.
You're going to try to chase them.
I will not be close to them. I will not even be near them.
Yeah, no, you'll be fine. There will be 10,000 people there with you. I'm pretty sure you'll be safe and you'll be okay. I don't know if I'll be joining you, but I'll see.
Will you be at the finish line?
I will think about it. Because people, when I started running, Andy never went to my start lines or my finish lines. I was there alone by myself. So what do you think? Should I do the same to him?
I don't
There were so many start lines that I traveled across Scotland, I remember, by myself. And I even stayed in random Airbnbs in sketchy places to get to my start line. In the middle of nowhere.
Fair, I had a full-time job and had to work the weekends.
So I don't know. I think Andy, we should let Andy.
If you want me to
get there on your own.
Be honest, I don't really care.
You can go and
I'm doing it for me.
Figure it out yourself. No, I'll be there. I'll go and cheer you on. But it was a funny thing. I was like, at least you have someone there. Yay! I was alone so many times. So yeah, if you have someone or you don't have anyone, you can still go and do it and kill it.
I will do it either way.
Exactly. I will do it either way. But I will be a partner and I'll go with you.
Oh, check you out.
I know. I even give him his Valentine's present now so he could wear it in the half marathon.
That's what it's became now. That what you do is for Valentine's and for Christmas season, for birthdays, you just get running gear.
Yeah, for your next race, and then just that was part of the Valentine present.
I think if anybody says to me, "What's the biggest change in your life?" All I get is running gear now as gifts.
Yeah, you were asking for socks. How crazy is that?
I was asking for running socks. That's what I said.
Oh my God, that is so funny. Well, we cannot wait to hear back from you reporting on your first ever half marathon, and you're going to bring us the medal. We want to see it.
If I get it, yes.
No, it's not if. When I get it.
When I get it, yes.
Yes.
We'll do a...
We'll have a party. You can have a cake after.
Oh, well, thanks.
I will say that when I finish a race every time, even though you didn't go, I will come back home and the table in the kitchen was full of goodies. All the time.
I used to give you flowers.
Cakes.
Just to remind everybody, I was a full-time job and was working. I got all your favourite things, and you got special.
So I can just
personalised cookies and
die in the couch for the next 2 days and eat all the goodness. Yes. Yeah. So you may get.
That was your inspiration of getting over the finish line.
Yeah. Still is. All right, guys. Well, we are so excited to next episode to bring you Steve. So don't miss that next week. And the following week, I guess we'll come back with Andy's experience of the half marathon.
Although I'm sure I'll have it all over Instagram.
Just follow us, and obviously you will know before we sit here. But it's always good to chat about it. Oh yeah, absolutely. He's gonna be running. You're gonna be one of those running with a selfie stick. All right, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Very much good luck to Andy, sending you the best vibes out there, and remember to keep doing whatever makes you ultra happy.